I feel like if I get angry, I'm gonna make a bad decision. Whereas when I'm having fun, I either make a good decision or a fun bad decision.
That was a gut punch.
That was. Well, the good news is we're two psychopaths out here. We got literally nothing to lose.
That's a fair enough point.
So let's just come up with some crazy to do.
Now that Christian's gone, I feel like I'm on the bottom. And the biggest mistake they made on my first season was letting me know I'm on the bottom. Because then it's like, okay, time to go break this game open.
Things are gonna get hairy here. At this point, like, I'd rather go out guns blazing.
If they really want Rick Devens back, then they're gonna get Rick Devens back. It might be time to play this game on my own and just see how far I can make it. And when I do that, I cause chaos, 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 chaos.
Chaos. A gaping pit waiting to swallow us all. Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder. Many who try to climb it fail and never get to try again.
Vote me out tonight, and there'll be hell to pay.
The fall breaks them.
Yeah, it was messy.
I need you to please just lay low.
You are not defined by the moments where you fell short.
And some are given a chance to climb, but they refuse. They cling to the realm.
I swear to you, I will be locked in with you.
Or the gods.
Riz God, baby.
Or love.
I'm in a poly relationship now.
Illusions. Only the ladder is real. The climb is all there is.
There's a little something from my Game of Thrones ex-Survivor fans. I don't know how big that Venn diagram overlaps. I made that intro. I feel like that was pretty good. I think sometimes I hit some home runs. No, I don't know. I wouldn't call that a home run, but that honestly, like I was kind of impressed with myself. Granted, it took me hours. It took my entire morning. So, somebody much more skilled than I am, they would have had that pretty quick. But here I am. I got there. We got there, okay? It was a roundabout way, but we got there. Loved this episode. I hope you enjoyed the intro that I made because, yes, it did take a while. Even though it's not my conventional intro, I thought this was not a conventional episode, so it deserved something like that. I had a few other things that I had pulled for, that I highlighted that I kind of loved this episode. I think, just Devens and Joe's relationship dynamic has been so fun to watch, and I pulled some audio from that. I'm sure we're going to get plenty of opportunities to kind of dive into that, and I'm sure I really hope we get some of Joe's thoughts coming out of this moment, because it's just sort of like when you are in the position that Joe is in and you feel the things about Devens that you do, Joe is just no nonsense, all right? The same part of him that makes him a dog in challenges, the same part of him that makes him fiercely loyal and loving towards the people that he's with, also makes it to where he does not suffer any fools, okay? And so there's these moments that Devens has where he is just not about it. They just don't mesh on a personality standpoint, I think. But then Devens gets this moment that's sort of like peak Devens, and I want to know what Joe was feeling after that. And I'm going to dive into a little bit more of just kind of their relationship, and I hope we get a lot more content around them. But first, I want to talk about Jimmy, aka Mr. Beast. I have been a fan, even though I don't think I'm his target demographic for probably most of his content over his career. I've been a fan of him for years now, just because of the scale at which he goes, and then also just the insane generosity that he displays in his videos too. And so I listened to a Theo Von interview that he did. It's a 2-hour long interview. If you like Theo Von, I think he really hits on some of just his personality and stuff like that. But also I think it's just an interesting interview just to kind of hear from Mr. Beast and the way he grew up, his philosophy on his videos. And I wanted to play you a clip here that I think summarizes who Mr. Beast is and how he thinks about things. And that's why I was pretty positive going into this week when a lot of people seem pretty down coming into it.
I feel like I'm motivated by a lot of things, and these kinds of game shows, it's fun to like create environments that have never been created for, and just like almost just see kind of what people do. Like a lot of that is just like mass behavioral psychology. Like if you offer someone money to eliminate other people, how much money would it take? You know, so it's kind of a little bit of that, but it's also I just like making great content, and like I like making things you can't find anywhere else because it's just fun to like see how the world reacts to it.
And that was kind of the theme throughout his video, and something I've seen in different interviews of his is that early on, like all he cared about was YouTube. He talks about like how antisocial he was and how he wasn't good at school and how he took, 2 weeks of community college classes and was doing terrible. And he's like, no, I got to change something. And so all he cared about from age of like 12 on was succeeding at YouTube. And so whenever he got paid, he's like, I remember when I got my first deal, like all I cared about was putting that money back into videos. And he talks about how his mom was a product of the 2008, I guess it was a recession, not depression, but just, the crisis, the housing crisis of 2008 bankrupted his family. They were relatively close to, living in poverty, if not already. And so he had a lot of conflict with his mom early on around all he cared about was making bigger and better videos. And he knew like what worked, like he was pretty good at that, and then also pretty good at like gaming the algorithm. But he was also very amateur at just sort of the business side of it. But he make $20,000 off a video, immediately put $20,000 into the next one. And his mom would get like super stressed. You need to put some aside so you could save it for if your Dodge Dakota like breaks down or whatever. But he's like, no, why would I do that? I can just put that into the next video, and the next video will make $50,000. The next video will make it, and so he's just like kind of kept doing that. And then he talked about how it was like a first ad sponsorship. He gets a $10,000 check and immediately makes a video where he gives away that $10,000. And then that ballooned into so much more. And so that's kind of been, obviously, there's probably a lot of layers to his life that I don't know about, but I honestly don't care. I'm just kind of taking it at face value of what he is here and what I kind of projected what he would be on Survivor. And it really does, like, contrasting this to the Zach Brown stuff. I was a fan somewhat of the Zach Brown thing when it happened because I thought it was a really cool reward. And I thought Colby had this really cool moment. And we also got to see this, like, the spearfishing scene. You got to see a part of Fiji that I don't think you normally get to see. That is just, like, amazing and terrific. And, just that, like, manta ray or whatever that was floating around. Like, my gosh, that scene. But now that I'm looking at this, I think they got this right with how involved he was. Like, he had a huge part in the game, and I do think a lot of this might be results oriented, but also we're probably getting a different episode if that came up tails. Like, if the coin comes up tails, we're not getting this like build up for this and then for it to kind of like fall on its face. Because they obviously know what the ending is, they can kind of then direct the episode the rest of the way through that. And maybe we get more Mr. Beast to kind of support the episode if it comes up the other way. But I think they got this right. I love that. I love just kind of the mindset of Jimmy when he comes into this stuff is like, what makes this fun? What makes it as cool as it could possibly be? Well, let's just do that. And if to make it more high stakes is to add $1 million, I also wonder, I'm like, it's also like $1 million isn't much to Mr. Beast in terms of what he does in other areas. And so I'm like, I wonder if he thought about adding even more to the pot, but they didn't want to like show up CBS because it's like they're kind of stuck in the spot where they're like, we've kept it $1 million for 26 years, and then he can just come by and throw in $5 million, even though we're 5 times bigger than him. And so I don't know. I loved it. I had a few ideas. So I was trying to like think through what the twist could have been. They've shown this coin a lot, and so beforehand, it probably had something to do with a 50-50 coin flip kind of thing. And then I was alerted that the coin was used in one of the Beast games. And so I went and watched the clip of like what that was. And basically this guy flips a coin. It could increase the prize or he could be eliminated. And so before this episode aired, I was kind of, okay, I bet it's going to be somebody can flip a coin and double the prize or get eliminated. That's what it ended up being. Or I thought the other thing would be let's say Devins flips the coin. If it's tails, yeah, you're eliminated. See ya. You're gone. If it's heads, the prize money doubles if Devins makes it to the final 3. And so now everyone else in the game, if it lands heads, has motivation to take him to the end so that they can double the prize money. And I think that's kind of like, it could have been a cool iteration. I don't know if we're ever going to see something like this ever again until another huge All-Stars type season. But if they were to do something like that, that would be like tie something to the person that travels with them. And so it's like, okay, do I want to take this guy out because he's plotting against me? Or do I want to take him with me so we can double the prize? He's also going to take up a seat there. If he does get there, could he win? Could he take this from me if it's attached to somebody like that? And so I think that changes a lot of that dynamic. But it also, I think this kind of guarantees that somebody like Devins is going to volunteer for it, as opposed to somebody that might, not to be offensive here, but get dragged to the end like an Emily or a Tiffany or something like that. And then I didn't totally understand the auction part of it. If you're watching on the video right now, I kind of broke it down. So the auction, help explain this to me. Everything had a chaos and like a good side to it, right? And so the auction letters come out. There's your good side. And the chaos side of it was supposed to be the Super Beware advantage. But then the Super Beware advantage breaks down into another part where it's either really good, $2 million, and this guy gets immunity and an idol, or he's eliminated. So another chaos. So I was just kind of confused. Usually it's just sort of like, it's either you get your letters or you get this chaotic, like horrible moment happen. But this was like, it's either your letters or it could be like this really good thing that happens for most of you except for Stephanie. So I was a little bit confused on that. Seemed like they kind of just needed to force that. The auction, this is probably going to be the only time that they like give them $500 because they needed this auction to culminate with them like spending the $20 to get the letters to then go into the Super Beware advantage somehow, now that they kind of like wrote themselves into that hole. And so they give them the $500 and says, you can share with each other. You can split your money too. And the reason they did that was because, let's say Rizzo's, shrimp comes out. Here's a shrimp plate and some ketchup. Rizzo, $500. $500 from the shrimp. Sold to Rizzo, $500. Come on up, Rizzo, get your shrimp. How's that shrimp taste? Delicious, Jeff. Delicious, baby. He goes, eats his shrimp. Later on, all right, here's the letters. And you know what? The letters have never changed price. The rest of the world's dealing with inflation, but not here in Fiji, where letters stay the same price. They're kind of like Arizona iced tea. Always the same price no matter what's going on. $20 gets you your letters. And then Rizzo's over there. Oh, Jeff, I spent $500 on I don't have nothing. I just got a bunch of shrimp tails now. Well, guess what? Stephanie can lend him $20. Stephanie lends him $20. He's able to get his letters. They all opt in. So now they're all part of the Super Beware advantage as well. My question, though, along the auction, so I don't think we're going to get $500 every single time and they're going to be able to share. This is a pretty unique situation. That would have been pretty funny, though, if like Rizzo spent $500 on a shrimp and then nobody gives him $20 to get his letters. My family wrote me from Albania and I can't get my letters. That would have been pretty great. If everybody's like, nah, I think I'm just going to use this to buy some Chick-fil-A back home. Because they get to keep the money. Troy Zan famously almost kept his $500 to buy shocks for his truck. Or no, Tarzan. Is that it? I don't know, dude. God rest him. But yeah, so, Tiffany and Joe only spent like $20. They get to take the rest of that $480 home. What y'all laughing at? I'll take that. So I do wonder, the letters coming out at 10, are we getting a family visit? Do y'all think we might be getting a family visit? Because this is a big season. So if you're going to bring it back for this. And usually this happens at 7. Because the idea is 4 people go back to camp pissed off and upset, the majority. 3 people, the minority, get to have this special moment together. They read their letters. They go off to the sanctuary. Sometimes they spend the night out there. And so it creates a lot of gameplay, but then also it has a huge emotional tie to it. And then also you're getting to sleep, get fed too for the minority as well. This is where Operation Italy happened. This is where Tres Leches Alliance in 49 happened. So I just wonder if at 7 we're going to get something. And are they going to, if you got to earn everything in the new era, I don't really know if that's happening this season. But will they do at 7 a 4-3 family visit split? Or is everybody going to get their family like in 40? But I feel like family's going to come back out here. And I'm cool with that. Some of the people we got coming out here, that'd be pretty cool to see Devin's kids out there, as much as he's talked about him, or his wife or whatever. I don't know if he's going to make it, though. I think the next person, they got to go after Devin's. But I think it's going to rebound and go at Emily, I imagine. Unless Devin's is bold enough to hang on to that idol. But he seems like a pretty self-aware person in a lot of ways, or at least game aware. And so imagine they're going to try and take a shot at Devin's. Emily hopefully will play her shot in the dark if she's wise enough to kind of catch on what's going on. But if they split it something like, I mean, what are we at right now? 9? So you got 7 people. So 4 on Devin's, 3 on Emily. And so if you got 2 over here with Devin's and Emily, they may think, okay, we just got to flip 1 or 2 people and we might be able to make something happen here. Maybe we can lie, create some more chaos, climb that ladder. She might try to not play her shot in the dark and try and get away with something, but man, she probably should, because it seems like they're going to go after Devin's, and man, why risk it? So seems like those 2 are going to kind of be next in line. And then I imagine, I don't know who else after that. Jonathan seems to be playing a great game, but I do think this was kind of the Aubrey episode. Something I've been wondering for a long time now is, why did we get that Genevieve and Aubrey thing? It just didn't have the payoff that I would want, where Genevieve just gets tribe swap screwed, right? It's like, I thought that was going to be like a final 7, final 8, like somewhere around here, we'd be getting the payoff of Genevieve versus Aubrey. But we got that so early on, and it just kind of like Genevieve went home because of a swap screw. And then she also like found these idols. Like, it just, I don't know why they highlighted that so much, unless they're trying to show that Aubrey's going to have an amazing run and go really deep, or potentially win this game. We got her Michelle confessional. We get the mac and cheese moment where she says, "It tastes like home. Tastes like home." I love that moment. Apparently that happened. I was reading one of the interviews. Maybe Stephanie said it or something. I don't know. But she was saying that like somebody else had a moment like that where they ate some food or something and it made them emotional, and they just kind of talked about like how much it reminded them of, or like me and my kids would share something like this. But it doesn't make the edit, doesn't make the story, because it's not part of the bigger picture of the story, because Stephanie went home. So why are you really going to tell much about that? If you've already kind of closed Stephanie's chapter with her journey where she's holding her arm up in the air, then we don't really need to dive into some of her family stuff. But for Aubrey, somebody where something like that scene's going to mean something. Their storytelling is so good on Survivor. Remember this. Everything is in there for a reason. Is Aubrey getting a final 3, final 4 run if she's getting a confessional like this? I'm currently watching her first season with my wife right now. We're on episode 1. I just saw the old gal that got the bug in her ear. Dude, that was rough, man. That is not fun. And I love just like the cameraman. I don't know if y'all remember this, but in Korang, however you pronounce it, she had this like some insect crawling through her ear in the middle of the night, and literally her ear is like bleeding like all day, and she's in so much pain, and understandably so, right? It's awful. And the cameraman is filming her just laying down in pain. The insect crawls out of her ear, on the top of her ear. I guess she doesn't feel it, because at this point, it's probably just so desensitized because you've just had something going on with your ear like all day. And the cameraman just keeps filming, like doesn't do anything. And I'm like, dude, intervene, It's like on Planet Earth. Like on Planet Earth, they like watch these turtles just get like eaten by all these birds, and none of the cameramen like do anything. And I'm like, dude, help that turtle, man. Help that turtle. Help this girl's ear. But eventually they got it out. Praise God. Praise God. So something else to talk about. Yeah, Devins and Joe. So this is what Survivor is built on, is these kind of relationships, this kind of storytelling of like this person versus this person. But I love that in 40 and on, it's not in like an ugly way. and again, watching some of these 30 seasons, it's this person versus this person, but it's just mean. Like, it's just like, where did this come from? It just seems, I don't know, like people are just acting like jerks and stuff. But now it's like, no, I do generally think that like Devins and Joe would hang out and like talk to each other like outside of this. Obviously, I don't think they're gonna like be best friends, go grab beer, stuff like that. But it's like they have this sort of personality difference that, all right, if I'm not eating for 26 days and I'm not sleeping well for 26 days, and you're playing in a way that I'm like, dude, this is just not how this game is played. Honestly, you saw that with Christian and Joe too. Christian could not fathom that Joe would not play in a way that is like makes it into a chessboard. That he would just play in this one directional way, and it would upset him if anybody else played the other way. Christian kind of had that too. Like, it's just like we can be people that respect each other, get along with each other, whatever. But there's something about that island that it's like, no, you're gonna see something happen, and it's gonna kind of come out. And so I'm glad we're getting some of that, and that's kind of what it's built on. I do disagree with this idea that like Survivor is a picture of our society, like when in the year that it was made, right? And so people say like, oh, I love that it's like this time capsule where you go back and you get a look at what the 2007s were like, whatever. Maybe some with like the fashion, hairstyles, stuff like that. But what you're getting is a time capsule of a person or a person's relationships on an edited TV show from 15 years ago. It might be a time capsule of what reality TV was like, but even kind of thinking about it, watching this, season 31 or whatever Korang was, I think it came out in 2015. We're just watching these people kind of be mean to each other, and yeah, it's just kind of ugly. And I'm like, I don't think people are necessarily nicer now or that they were meaner back then. I think it's just you edit the show in a different way. And Jeff has very intentionally changed the show and highlighted things in the show that make it more appealing to 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. If you watch Great British Bake Off or Great British Baking Show, whatever it's called, like it reminds me of that. It's just this like wholesome competition where we can still have like, I'm going to go at it and I want to win kind of thing. But it's also like there's this level of respect and care for each other. And then, change it up a little bit because we're hungry and it's Survivor and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I just kind of disagree with that. Like Survivor is this time capsule where it captures something about the early 2000s or whenever it was made. In some ways, I think it's true. In a lot of ways, I think it's just sort of like it captures reality TV. It captures this particular day for this particular person. And so I just wouldn't read into it as much as I think a lot of people are and want to at time. The general idea of twist also I'm like thinking about, we've had a lot of this season be twists and involve twists. This is probably the biggest twist that we've had. I know Jeff says it a lot, and yeah, and it's like fun to kind of throw that out there, but I genuinely believe this is just the most insane twist that they've done. And part of me is sad that I tried to figure it out beforehand. Like, I feel like I should have just like taken it in and watched it because I was just so caught up of like, okay, now what? And understanding what was going on, and like watching the production side of it, all that I didn't just sort of like soak in the moment. And I should have done that more, I think. But this twist was absolutely amazing. And rewatching it today to make that intro, it hit me again. And I was like, oh, this is badass. Like, this is really, really cool. So why do so many twists? Particularly in the new era, it seems like there's some kind of unique twist every single season. And then obviously in 50, you're getting quite a few unique twists. And I think this moment highlights why. It reminds me of like when I go to golf. I am not a good golfer. If I can break 100, it's a good day. For context, a normal like good golfer's shooting 10 shits and 10 shots less than me. So I'm not a good golfer. But if I go into the woods and I hit it way over here, I'm still aiming for the green. I have no business shooting from the out of bounds towards the green. I am not that skilled of a golfer. But every so often, I'll hit that shot where it goes through all those trees and it climbs that hill and it lands 10 feet from the pin. And then I'm going to, of course, 3-putt it from there. But that moment where I hit it and I take this insane shot that only a professional should hit, and I hit it like a professional, is the reason I come back. I watched that and I'm like, that was nice. That was nice. That's worth going back and playing again. And that's kind of what these twists remind me of. When you hit something, when you let the game play out with these twists, and you have the right cast that's there for these twists, you get something like Operation Italy. You get something like this episode, where it's just sort of the pinnacle of what these twists can be, and it becomes some of the greatest television and greatest entertainment that you could ask for. I will say, though, for these to work, for these twists to work, you have to have people that are making suboptimal decisions. Devon's, right? Like, he is just sort of, like, he does not make optimal decisions. He makes entertaining decisions. He lives for moments, not for necessarily winning the game. And so I think these twists become better, and this game in general becomes more entertaining when you have people that are willing to make suboptimal decisions for the benefit of, this will be fun. This could be fun if I'd go and do this. That's why Savannah goes on a journey, episode 1. She said, I already won, dude. What am I doing here? I want to make the most out of every opportunity. So she goes on a journey that probably wasn't in the best interest of her game. But look, it was fun for her. She had a good time. She got to hang out with Colby, got these moments. And Devon's is kind of living the same way. And I think I'm on the boat that even though Devon's game annoys me at times, it feels like he's not actually playing Survivor. If you get to the end playing like this, dude, and you have a good time, by all means, what do I care? I'm not here to yuck your yum. And so, yes, more people that are willing to play, as Jeremy Collins calls it, play to lose. Because nobody wins this game. Nobody wins this game. Unless you do. All right, listener of the week. Happy birthday to Austin Hill. He's a buddy of mine that I met way back in the day. He told me he's been listening. He said back in the day he became a Survivor fan and just recently started catching up again. I hope you enjoy the show. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Y'all have a great week. Bye.
Thank you for listening to my Daddy's Survivor podcast. Got nothing for ya? Head back to camp. Love you. Bye.